Welcome to Show Em The Dore, the only Vanderbilt sports podcast.
In general?
The only one. Like,
yeah.
there's no... you have no other choice.
We're just factually lying.
Than us. Well, the only other one is
the Hustler one.
You have to pay for that, though.
You do?
Yeah.
Never mind. We are the only one.
We're the only student-run Vanderbilt sports podcast.
We're the longest running.
We're the longest running. Do you know of any other sports podcast?
Name one.
Run by Vanderbilt students? Name one.
Boost our interaction, I dare you.
Like, you have no other choice. We have a monopoly on this. Guys, what you fail to understand is we can do anything.
My name is Christopher Conway. That's Willem Azzinnaro. And today we have a very special guest. Welcome to the podcast, Troy LaNeve.
Yes, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, definitely. This has been, long in the making. Mm-hmm. We've been talking to Troy for the better part of a year, if I think correctly. Yeah. But, with a couple schedule, conflicts, we're super happy to have him on now. And, ready to delve through your life in baseball and how you've gotten here to Vandy. Sure. Before we start that, please subscribe to Show Em The Dore. I'm going to take my next 20 seconds to plug. Subscribe. It makes me feel better personally. Also,
Chris has actually decided to not get a job and only live off of the proceeds of this podcast.
And guys, I'm starving.
Guys, he's got no food.
Please. Also, follow our Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Show Em The Dore, except our TikTok is at s.e.t.d. Is that right?
Yep. And follow Troy LaNeve.
Yeah, follow Troy LaNeve. He'll be in the description, I'm sure, with all of his different socials. There should be a bar about here saying subscribe. So figure that one out. All right. So Troy, now to you. When did you start playing baseball?
Oh man.
You're like
3,
okay, yeah, like
years
T-ball.
Old. Yeah, I have older brothers who
Okay.
all played baseball. My dad played baseball, so baseball was a big part of growing up for me. So very early.
Did you ever play with your brothers?
Once, yeah.
How much older are they, I guess?
My oldest brother's 31, and then I have another brother that's 26. I played a little bit with my older brother that's right above me.
Right.
And then I have a younger brother who's 19, and he was always kind of like the bat boy, but never got to play with him, sadly. But yeah, one time with my older brother.
But so, obviously, you started from a very young age.
Yeah.
When did you start getting a little serious about baseball?
So my brother went to North Carolina and he played and he got drafted by the Marlins.
Ooh.
And
what round?
That was back when there were 50 rounds. So he was drafted in the 43rd round.
Still drafted.
Still drafted out of high school.
Major leaguer.
Out of high school? Did he sign?
No, he went to North Carolina. But I started thinking I could play professional baseball in second grade because of him. I was like, yeah, I can do this.
You're like, this is in the family.
Yeah, I can play. I was like, I want to do it.
This is just something people do.
Yeah, I was like, I think I'm better than him. I can play after him. So, I would say as early as I could, probably, but it started getting more serious, probably middle school, early high school.
So did you go through the travel ball routes and all that kind of stuff as a kid growing up?
Yeah, again, just with my brothers, and then I started pretty early too, probably 4th, 5th grade, traveling local teams, and then I kind of already had it in with some programs because of my brothers, so I was able to get on a team pretty easy and start traveling.
Yeah. Do you feel like your brothers were the main inspiration in your life when it came to baseball, or maybe your dad or something like that?
For sure. I mean, everybody really, my dad and my brothers. My dad was a really good coach. Growing up, he coached a lot of guys. In fact, even to this day, people who I played with, guys who I played with, they'll fly into Pittsburgh and they'll train with him in the off season. Wow. Guys who play professionally just because.
Was your dad a baseball player?
Yeah, he was a baseball player. He played Division III baseball up there. He's just a really good coach.
Sure.
Naturally, just knew a lot of things. And but yeah, I mean, I had definitely got inspiration from my brothers. I was always trying to compete with them when I was younger. So that was definitely a big motivation of mine.
And so, growing up, were you always the kind of third base outfielder type, or did you start in a different position and move into that as you got older?
Yeah, I was a catcher.
You were a catcher?
I was a catcher for a big portion of little league into kids pitch.
Yeah.
And then I started moving around all over the place just as I got older. I played some shortstop in high school, so the only thing that really stayed consistent was hitting, and anything that I could do to just stay hitting, I didn't really care where I played. But anywhere really.
What was your favorite position in the field then, though? But obviously hitting is...
Hitting, yeah. I loved playing first base. That was one thing that I loved to play when I was younger. I always thought it was like a cool thing because I was like a lefty power hitter. So I was like, first baseman, that's the position that I got to play and all that stuff. So I had a lot of fun playing first base. And, obviously I didn't really care where I played. I ended up in the outfield, but first base was like my favorite one growing up.
Dude, definitely. That's what I played when I played baseball.
Nice.
I loved first base.
Yeah,
I wish I was a lefty for that though.
Yeah,
righty first baseman, not really the move.
It's like historically, like Ryan Howard, like David Ortiz, like those guys I loved.
Yeah, for sure. But so as you got to like, through like late middle school into high school, right? Like, was your journey in the sense of, okay, I've always been like varsity star, or like did you start off like a little slow and then as like you matured through high school, like really started to pick up steam, or how did that go for you?
Yeah, in middle school I was a bigger kid, and I think having older brothers to look at, kind of like how they could play at a certain age and stuff, that helped me kind of be a little more advanced or ahead of some other kids at that age. So yeah, I was a varsity player as a freshman, and I had a couple other friends who had the same kind of journey as me in that sense. And I guess it was just kind of just trying to get better every year. But yeah, I was pretty skilled at a young age, and I think that's because I was around the game so much.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously we're here, but some people they develop into like their bodies, especially in high school, and then that can like really take off. Yeah. But how do you what was your favorite memory from like early high school, like freshman, sophomore year, before like, I don't know, maybe recruiting probably picks up around then for you as well, but your favorite memory early high school, like freshman, sophomore year?
So my freshman year, I have two best friends back home that are still playing. One is in high A with the Brewers, and another one's playing at Kent State doing a 5th year there. And Josh Johnson, Matt Wood, those are my boys.
Absolutely.
Still talk to them every day. So growing up with them, it was we competed with each other and stuff. We were both, we were all pretty good on our teams and stuff. So our freshman year, when we were doing tryouts and all this stuff, like we hadn't had a freshman make varsity in like 5 or 6 years or something like that, and all three of us made varsity and we were starting. And that was just like a really cool experience.
That is really hype.
You and the boys.
Yeah, it was me and boys. Like since like second grade, we were all homies. So
that's crazy.
That was a really cool thing. Just like early on in high school, being able to go through that with them was awesome. Yeah.
And so the transition from being like the underclassmen who are like breaking like the norm into like the upperclassmen, how did that experience go for you?
I would say it was interesting because that was the first time because I was an early commit. I committed here as a freshman.
Really?
Yeah, and
in high school.
Yeah, in high school, yeah.
You were like what, 13?
I was 14 when I got recruited, and then probably 15 when I committed.
I didn't weigh 100 pounds when I was a freshman in high school.
Well, it's such a normal process, which I think like looking back is so ridiculous.
That's insane, dude.
Like I work the camps here, and like some of those kids are freshmen, sophomores, and I'm like, you guys should like wait 6 months.
You guys should
you can't legally have a job.
Yeah, it's
you guys should take your algebra test.
I was like, go like ask your parents to see a rated R movie or something. Like and I made that decision, and looking back, I was like, God, that's insane that's even allowed. But
the best decision.
Yeah,
wow,
best decision.
You had that
it was a
tough freshman history class, and then you're like, okay, I gotta go sign my letter of intent.
That was a interesting process. But going in as a freshman, knowing that the district that I grew up in, it's very competitive sports-wise, and fans get really into it. Yeah. And I don't think I was ready to take on all that like crap talking as a freshman, so that was definitely
like getting like your mental a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. But it was, I mean, as a freshman, and even like some of my sophomore year, that was something that me and my two other friends, like we struggled with, just kind of like being able to flush that stuff, and then once we got older and stuff, kind of embraced it a little more.
And since you'd committed, I'm sure it was like.
Yeah, it was.
They're like, the kid going to Vanderbilt. Let's do. Dang.
Bro, heard Vandy boys since 14.
It's Vandy boys. You are a child.
Yeah.
Do you feel like having to deal with all of that talking helped once you got into the SEC though? Because obviously everybody here is super super passionate about every sport imaginable.
We yell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. Maybe. I think. Yeah, definitely just come and play in the game more. definitely prepares you for that. But in the SEC, it's like you almost love it. Like you like getting. Like I think of a couple places like Arkansas, Ole Miss. Like those places, man, they're breathing on your neck, like talking to you, like when you're in the dugout. And
are they that close?
I mean, it feels like it. Yeah, it feels like it for sure. And you almost embrace it. Like it's almost like, especially on the road, like it's your team, and then there's not a single Vanderbilt fan in the stands.
Yeah.
So
you're like the villain coming.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's
you guys are hyped. Nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
So once I kind of got a taste of that, I was like, God, this is like the coolest thing in the world.
Great.
So you almost like look forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, you know, in like football, there's a lot of like travel, I feel like, for fans. But in baseball, like I really feel like schools do a good job of like selling out their home crowds.
Yeah.
I was at I'm from Knoxville. I was at the Tennessee Vandy games in Knoxville last year, which were unfortunate. But especially because I brought all my UT friends and I was talking crap the entire weekend. But they do play on a T-ball field. That's not the point. We'll talk about that later. But oh gosh, I was getting clowned all week because I'm in a sea of orange and I'm wearing all my Vandy stuff. But you guys obviously had success in high school. So like in terms of like a singular game, what was your favorite moment from high school?
From high school, probably. So we won. I live in Pittsburgh, and the district that I live in, that the like league is called. It's called the WPIAL, and a lot of people think it's harder to win the WPIAL than it is to win states, because pretty much whoever wins the WPIAL is going to go on and win the state championship. And we were lucky enough, we won when I was a sophomore and a senior, but I think that senior year, being a part of that championship team was a really cool thing, just because it was like my last.
It was like a last
ride thing.
Yeah,
it was like with all my boys and stuff, and
so
that was a really cool experience. That and my sophomore year, those two games were awesome.
That's hype.
That's
So you said you got offered and committed to Vandy freshman year.
Yeah.
Did you get any other offers or people trying to steal you away from Vandy through those years, or were you like a very hard commit from day one?
Yeah, so once I committed, I just cut off communication with everybody else. But yeah, I went through the recruiting process. It was very early, so I didn't really go on many visits. I had absolutely no intention of committing anywhere. And once I came down here and visited and met the coaches and saw the environment and all this stuff, and I remember like talking to my parents. I was like, if they offer me, I'm going to commit. And even my dad was like, nah, you should wait. Just wait. Like you're 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
Chill out. And then, I had a couple other offers and a couple other schools that I was looking at.
Do you want to name drop those? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I was, Kentucky, Miami, Virginia Tech was a big one, but none of them I was even closely considering committing to.
Horrible schools compared to the Vanderbilt University.
Yeah,
I can say that.
Yeah, you can say that.
I'm the media personality. But
Chris is the skip.
So I guess then when you got to campus, what was that transition like from like, okay, I've been recruited, I've been a Vandy commit, I've been in high school, senior year, you're kind of on top of the world when it comes to like winning that championship. How did that go to being, now a freshman at Vandy in the 2020 season, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, 2020. I mean, it's overwhelming. I mean, you come here and especially in 19, we won the national championship. And so getting to kind of see the aftermath of that was really cool, but I think as a freshman, you have a million things thrown at you, with no warning of how things are going to be, let alone if you're an athlete or not. Like freshman year is just a big change. Yeah. So I think everybody kind of goes through that whole process pretty similar, where it's just a lot of information thrown at you, and you definitely need some time to grow. And we see it every year with guys that come in, and there's a standard that needs to be met, and some guys sink, some guys swim.
One thing that we try to ask every athlete that comes on is, for something like this, we all know that like sports is a very big like mental health journey.
Yeah.
And especially with the rise of like kind of sports gambling, where kind of people even in college are viewed more as commodities sometimes than players. Do you feel like you've gone through that kind of ups and downs of mental health, and do you have any like advice for people going through that on how to get through it and come out better on the other side?
Yeah, I think baseball is a big sport in that avenue of mental health, just because there's so much failure in the sport. that everybody kind of goes through their own personal battle in that sense. One thing I'd say that our team does is we are a very, very close team every year, and we're really good at communicating with each other in that sense. If anybody's kind of struggling and you can kind of notice it and stuff, I think our team historically is really good at connecting with that individual and picking them up. But yeah, I mean, I've gone through a lot of struggles. I've gone through a surgery here, and I mean, there was a very, very tough process, going through that. And the resources that we've had and the connections that I've had with guys that graduated before me and even our staff has always been great. But yeah, I think everybody goes through their own journey in that sense from a mental health standpoint, and yeah, definitely been a part of that.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
So, back to baseball.
Yeah.
So you came in right after they won the championship. In my opinion, would have gone back to back if that season didn't get canceled. How did you guys as a team deal with that season being canceled?
That was we really didn't. I mean, it was it would happen so fast that you couldn't even have time to process it. But it was interesting because we played that Tuesday. We played Toledo at home, and then Thursday the season was canceled. So we played that Tuesday, and Kentucky was driving down to play us. That was going to be the SEC, SEC. Yeah. And I had a friend on Kentucky who was like, "Hey, they just turned the bus around. Have you heard anything? What's going on?" We didn't even know. We were like, no. What are you talking about? Yeah, it was very interesting. And so we have a meeting. They're like, "Hey, they're going to postpone the season for 2 weeks. Do what you can do just to stay healthy, stay in shape." And we're like, "All right, this is weird." And then we literally left the meeting, and 25 minutes later, we're having a meeting that the season completely got canceled.
Wow.
That's
so
insane.
I mean, it was just so fast in how it happened. It was like you can't even process, what was happening. And then 3 days later, I was home. And so that whole thing was
canceled the school year
they
too.
canceled the school year. They wanted you off
insane.
campus. So
Wow.
it was tough because we had some seniors on that team. We had guys who, juniors who we knew were going to get drafted, and them going through that and seeing how they reacted. And I was a freshman. I was barely playing at the time, and seeing how they were reacting, I was like, "Oh man, this is brutal. This is just not a good thing." But yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that must have been extremely tough.
Yeah.
But then how did it transition going into, I guess, your sophomore year season?
Yeah.
Coming back to baseball after that and, coming together as a team in that sense? Because with a whole bunch of different guys, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely, I think the anticipation was super high. Guys were just so excited to get back and get back on the field and just be around everybody, because that was mid-April that we got sent home, or end of March, I don't even know. And, we didn't see those guys until the second week of September.
Yeah.
So being away from those guys for so long definitely made that whole transition a lot easier, but the rules were insane. I mean, we had, we have a classroom that we have every single day as a team, and we were doing it in the bleachers. And so,
Really?
and we were all 3 seats away from the next player.
Oh,
So
geez, yeah.
every little thing was critiqued. We couldn't lift with other people. You had to go in, you had your slotted times and lift on your own. So it was good to be back, but at the same time, it was very
It's not the same.
it's just not the same.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same. And then slowly those mandates started lifting, and it started getting back to normal. But that was definitely a process.
From the fan perspective, where we hear a lot about, how much effort goes into building a team culture and that kind of stuff, which, how do you feel that, obviously that's impacted by what you're saying. Do you feel it took longer to kind of build that chemistry that year, or do you think you guys just had different ways of going about it?
Yes and no. I think the fact that we were all going through the whole COVID thing together brought us a lot closer. But again, at the same time, there was a lot of things that were delayed, being able to go get food as a team, or being able to hang out in the dorm rooms together as a team. That was taken away from us in that sense, and that was kind of every team was probably the same. But I think the fact that we were going through all of the roles of COVID together, and we were doing that definitely made us close, because that was a really, really close team when we started playing in the season.
Yeah, definitely. So actually getting to that season, what would you say was your favorite moment from that season?
I mean,
If
we got to play in the national championship.
Sure.
Regardless of how we got there, that was a dream come true, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll make it specific to regular season. How about that? How about that?
Once I started to kind of get in and play a little more, I'd say we had a couple weekends late in the season where we lost to Florida that year. We lost 2 out of 3 of them, and then we had an unbelievable series against Ole Miss, but we dropped the series on Sunday, and that was kind of we were top 5 the whole season, and we lost those 2 I think right back to back, and that was it was towards the end of the year, momentum. But we played Kentucky. It was the last series of the year, and
That's what I expected.
Yeah, Friday night I was lucky enough to get a good pitch. So that's it.
Well, let's be clear about what getting a good pitch is. Hopefully, if I can find the clip, which I will be able to find the clip, I'm going to cut it and put it right here. Didn't have sound. Here's a 3-1, and it's drilled high and deep to left center. Oh my God, it is a walk-off 2-run home run for Troy LaNeve. He's literally him in every facet of the word. He's rounding second, rounding third. It's over. But if I remember correctly, didn't you hit a walk-off home run?
I did hit a walk-off home run.
Yeah,
Yes,
so it was pretty sick.
Pretty good pitch.
It was pretty sick.
That's not bad.
No, I remember it really sucks that I know it hasn't happened, but I wish students were still on campus for those late season games and all that stuff, because I'm at home, I'm going crazy because it had been it feels like sometimes we just get into these couple slumps, especially when Florida comes around for some reason. And I was like, oh gosh, going into the playoff, this is going to be rough. That happened in Kentucky. And then I remember we didn't have a great SEC tournament that year, if I remember correctly. But it just felt like every thing felt a little different after that moment, where even the games that we didn't win, we were like, okay, we're ready for the playoffs.
Right.
We're ready to keep going far. And so let's go to the playoffs with that season. I'm gonna skip the SEC tournament because I think
That's fine.
it was I think we won 1 game, lost 1 game,
Yep.
we were out. Not a big deal because we were a national seed. I think we were 2nd overall that year.
I think we were 4th.
We were 4th.
4th.
Oh yeah, because we were in the NC State bracket. Because they beat Arkansas
at home.
Yeah.
They beat the Cops. Yeah.
Oh God, we called in the Cops when he pitched every game.
Every game. He's greatest college pitcher of all time.
His arm must have been killed though. For those of you that don't remember, there was a pitcher of Arkansas named Kevin Kopps, and he threw what the announcers called a gyro ball, which I had never heard of before this, specifically because I didn't play that high baseball, and he would just go out there and just get outs.
Yeah, we did play them in the SEC tournament, and I did face him. And I remember before the SEC tournament, Van Horn he said, he's like, yeah, Kevin Kopps is gonna get a break. They're already number 2 seed overall, something like that. I don't know, but they were like, yeah, Kopps is gonna sit the SEC tournament and then just get him ready for the postseason. And we're playing Arkansas, and I think we were up, or maybe tied, something like that. It was a close game, bottom of the 7th, and we're looking down into the bullpen. We're trying to figure out who's getting loose for Arkansas. And I remember, he throws the pitch. You can't really see the way that the field's set up. You can't really see who's bullpen, but you can see the arm, and then you see the pitch, and someone goes, "Oh God, it's Kevin Kopps." Kevin Kopps is coming in, and then he just shoved. He gets 9 straight outs. He goes, "God." Dude.
Yeah, dude. The thing I remember that piece. Oh dear God. The thing is it was 9 straight outs, but I think 7 of them were strikeouts.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We fell victim.
Yeah.
It was
that was just what happened.
It's just over.
But the crazy thing about Kevin Kopps, not to derail from your episode by any means, but whenever he people would swing and miss, they would look so confused in the batter's box. It was the most confused I've ever seen a batter look.
It was unbelievable.
How does that pitch look as a batter? Because obviously we've never seen anything close. So
the best way I could describe it is you think it's a fastball until it drops 3 feet. And that's exactly what it feels like. He's throwing the ball 87, 88 with this much movement.
Right.
And it's even I fouled a ball off, and I remember walking back and being like, "Oh, that's pretty good."
No,
I struck out, and I was like,
you were
there.
because you were the first one that contacted the ball in that game.
Yeah.
I remember I was thinking about this because it was 9 straight pitches for the first 3 outs, and it was rough.
No,
I
he
won't
was.
tell my kids about that time
yeah.
I got contact of Kevin Cups.
That's one thing. I mean, he was good, and he was that good, and I'm okay saying that because I respect the crap out of him. What he did, and he was very respectful.
I wonder if I haven't kept track of him.
I want to say he's AAA. Yeah, he's AAA this year.
Yeah, he was crazy.
Yeah,
anyway,
very good.
SEC tournament. We're now moving past the SEC tournament.
Kevin,
Start with the
done.
Nashville regional. In that game, I want to say our 4 seed that. Oh gosh, I don't remember our 4 seed. I remember 2 seed. Okay, because our 2 seed was Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
But so Presbyterian completely smashed. No offense to Presbyterian, not on the same level. Georgia Tech, on the other hand, there were some, it felt a little anxiety-inducing with those games versus Georgia Tech, especially the one in the championship. But the first game, do you remember, is there any specific moment of those games that you feel like of the regional that you remember?
That Sunday game against Georgia Tech, the championship game for us, that was one of the best baseball games I've ever been a part of in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just good baseball. I mean,
it was good baseball all around.
Yeah, I think we went to the 12th inning, and
Isaiah
Isaiah Thomas hit a grand slam, and
Isaiah Thomas.
at bottom of the 11th or something unbelievable.
He's at Oregon, isn't he? I thought he was.
Yeah.
Where if he was at
yeah.
one point? I don't know.
Lewis and Clark University, yeah. That's where he ended last year.
Lewis and Clark University.
Yeah, I
Good
believe
for
so.
him. I hope he's doing well.
That sounds like
Yeah.
But anyway, so move on to Georgia Tech, super regional against ECU.
Yeah.
And that was where they had that one pitcher,
Gavin Williams.
nice uniform.
and he was a first round pick that year.
He was second starter for the Guardians this year in Cleveland.
Really?
What?
He's
he was
truth.
he was raw.
Oh.
I mean, we're sitting at, he was sitting 98, 99.
Yeah.
I faced him 3
Jeez, dude.
times, and in my third at bat, the last pitch he threw to me was 99, and I was like, the 6th inning, I was like, this guy's got.
You can feel the heat off it. You're like, oh.
He's just still going. He's still pumping.
That's odd.
Yeah, because that
ain't
was
normal.
that was the year we had Jack and Kumar, and that pitching duel
Yeah,
of
1-2 punches.
yeah,
There's nothing better.
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to lose a series. It feels like when
It's cool to have your guy at like 98, 99, but then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we've got that.
Yeah,
It's Kumar Rocker.
here's the number
true.
2 and 10 pick.
It's like, okay, here you go.
It almost felt like once we got past the regional, it was like, okay, this super might be kind of a breeze because we got these 2 guys. We only need to win 2 games.
Yeah.
And we got 2 best pitchers in college baseball.
You got
No, definitely.
aces.
Yeah.
Other team, they got their guy, but then it's like, okay, they used their arm.
Yeah.
Now they got to send
Their
up
second guy
forever.
was pretty good. If I
They
remember.
did, yeah. They had a lefty. I can't remember his name.
He got drafted this year, didn't he?
He was good.
Yeah, he was.
really
He wasn't
good.
as good as
But
Gavin
he ain't
Williams,
Kumar.
and he's definitely not Kumar Jack. But so anyway, breeze past ECU, 2-game, 2-0, pretty sweep. Go into the College World Series. Our first game was against
Arizona.
Arizona.
and that's what I remember as the Jason Gonzalez game.
Yeah,
Good old
Gonzo,
West
yeah.
Coast battle.
And I remember he'd been having a little bit of a slump, and then he hit like a 3-run shot inning 3, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god. But wasn't it like a 13-inning game or something ridiculous?
It was it kept going back and forth. But I mean, Gonzo is just the guy you needed, man.
Yeah,
I mean, he was probably the best. He batted 9-hole for us. You think about
Yeah.
how unbelievable of a 9-hole hitter that is.
Yeah,
To have
that's
him,
insane.
he batted. He had over 300, but just
Clean up at its
most
finest.
raw power. Some of the most raw power I've ever played with,
Well,
and
he's just huge.
he was just a massive, strong kid.
He's just a big guy.
And
most physically imposing baseball player I think I've ever
100%.
Yeah, if I'd see him, I'd be like,
scary guy.
how tall was he?
6'2", 6'3".
Yeah.
Was he
He's a
only
beast.
6'2" or 6'3"? He
Yeah,
looked
it felt
about
like
6'7".
6'5",
I
yeah.
remember I
But
saw
like-
Kumar in person, and I'm like, oh, that's like a tight end on the
Yeah,
football
yeah.
team or something. I look him up, and I'm like, oh, dear God.
Yeah,
And then, I see Jason by him, and I'm like, Jason's horrifying, dude.
Well, he's the nicest
Like,
guy in the world too.
I've
Like,
heard
he
that.
looks
He's
so
just
nice.
such.
I've
He's
heard,
just
he's just this quiet
Yeah.
dude, you know?
Yeah,
And I'm
love
like,
him.
but he's like a semi-truck.
Yeah. No,
What
he's
in
the
the world?
man.
in that College World Series, what is your favorite moment before we get to the whole NC State debacle?
The debacle.
I would say just I think the whole experience is unbelievable. I mean, there's nothing that matches that. You know, especially growing up, having like Omaha is like the only place you wanted to play. Like growing up as a college baseball fan, I'd say honestly, just the biggest thing that I can remember from being able to soak it in is just my first at bat. You can feel they were playing Arizona. It was a night game, and it was day one night game, so it was sold out. There was 27K there.
No, it was,
and you can feel the ground, like when people start cheering, you can feel the ground kind of shake a little bit in the stadium, which was freaky, but at the same time it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I the only time that whole tournament I took a moment to like really look around, and it was my first at bat. It was just looking around, I was like, holy crap, like this is like one of the craziest things I've ever done.
You think of these things where it's like, this has been like the dream, you know? And then you're in that moment, you're like, the floor is literally moving. It's the dream, you know?
And that's why I love Corbs. He does such a good job reminding everybody how like valuable those moments are. And that's for the rest of my life, I'm always going to be glad that I was able to like take myself out of the moment and just look around and be like, oh, wow, this is unbelievable. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So then the NC State debacle, where we lost the game to NC State. They were the Cinderella team of the tournament. And then we beat NC State.
Yeah.
And then Game 3 was supposed to happen.
Yep.
But then they weren't fully you know these situations a bit more. Would you take us through that a little bit?
I mean, so we beat them on a Thursday. And we had to play them again. So this was the semifinal round. So we made our way. They beat us to put us into the losers bracket.
Yeah.
So they got the week off, and we had to play back into the, get our way back to semis.
That was the Stanford game.
Yeah.
To get
that was the Stanford game, which was unbelievable in itself.
That was
and that was to make it to this.
Yeah, it was make it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
And we beat them on a Thursday. That's crazy. And then I actually was really good friends with the shortstop, Jose Torres, who I'm texting him throughout the day.
That was Jose Torres?
Yeah, it was Jose Torres, yeah. So I'm texting him throughout the day, and he's like, man, I'm not gonna lie, this might be a bad situation. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, might not be able to play tomorrow. And he's texting me, and he's like, yeah, 10 of our guys just tested positive for COVID. Like
10?
Yeah, he's like, we're not gonna be able to play. And I'm like, oh man, like, that stinks.
Dude,
what are you gonna do? Like, honestly, like, there was a lot of mutual respect between the teams, so it was almost like a bittersweet. We were like, if we want to beat them, we want to beat them.
Yeah.
You know? And I get a text at 3. No, I get a call from Jose at 3 in the morning, and he's like, dude, they just canceled us. They just canceled. They told us we didn't have enough players to play. Like, we have to forfeit tomorrow's game.
Oh, geez.
And so I'm sitting there at 3 in the morning, and I have like Chris McElvin's my roommate, and I'm like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, he's like, yeah, you guys are going to the national championship. I'm like, nah, dude, that's not what we want. I was like, we don't want that at all.
That's a tough way to hear it, man.
I mean, it was weird. And then that morning at like 6 a.m. we get a message sent out from Corbs, and he lets us know like, not gonna play the game today. Like, sleep in, go get breakfast with your family if you need. We'll have a meeting later in the day. And I mean, that whole process of just seeing how everybody reacted to that was insane.
Yeah, that's like the best news you can get.
But also,
you are going to the College World Series championship.
Yeah.
But the worst way
the worst possible way. I mean, it's like
and I'm sure you felt so bad for your friend.
Yeah. I mean,
that's just tough.
That whole situation was, I know a couple guys on their team and stuff, and like, I mean, just their support, even NC State's support for us in that situation, understanding like that the way that went down, it was just so unfortunate. Like, nobody wants to be in that situation.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And but it was I think the most interesting part of it to see was how like the country reacted to it. You had Dave Portnoy coming on and calling us frauds and stuff. And
yeah,
we're just like,
it was
all right.
It was ridiculous because everyone was so mad at Vandy.
Yeah,
like we had any control over anything.
We snuck over there and gave him COVID.
Like, did we benefit from it Absolutely.
Yeah, but you can't.
But like that's also not our fault.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want us to do? Be like, no, we're not going to the championship. But
Yeah, we're just gonna concede it to.
no, like, and so we're gonna skip by the championship series because it was an unfortunate one.
That's fine.
But so I guess going into your junior year, that was when you got injured, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When did you get injured?
And
not to HIPAA violate you.
No,
but like,
I'm open to it. Yeah, so I started having, I got labrum surgery, and I just started having pains like that fall, and I just thought it was kind of like dead arm, normal thing that like players throw through, and I just thought, I was like, I'm just gonna throw through it, it'll be gone. I'll take a couple of Advil, I'll be okay. And then it just progressively got worse, and then like once the season started, I just stopped kind of addressing it, just tried to play through it, and I wasn't able to throw with it. But I went through the whole season with torn labrum.
I remember, from a fan's perspective, like I came in, what was your sophomore year? So that College World Series was my freshman year. And, you were a pretty consistent mainstay, power bat in the lineup. Yeah. Super excited. Next year, it felt like obviously there was a little bit different. And I was always like, I wonder what, happened. Because like we needed that lefty power that year specifically, and then it came out that you had surgery, and I was like, that makes so much sense because it had been consistent what I expect. Like like as I'm going through the lineup, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to get from these guys. And so when did you realize like you needed to have surgery on your labrum?
I knew that it was pretty bad in like January of last year. So before the season started, I think I just wanted to
play.
I just wanted to see what I can do. I think even from a standpoint, like I knew I probably wasn't going to be able to play as much. The difference between being on the bench in a sling as opposed to not, it's just like it was that. Looking back, probably a little stupid that I didn't get it as early. I just wanted to play, and I knew that something was up with it pretty early. I knew that I probably was going to need surgery, and I just waited till the season ended.
And so you had that surgery. How was the recovery into this last year?
It was definitely a process, but it allowed me to kind of get away from the game a little bit and start kind of appreciating the game as much as I did, because I think definitely I was a little more standoffish with baseball because of that whole process. I was like, oh man, I got this injury. Like I had I had a plan, like all this stuff, and didn't go as planned, but once I was able to kind of get out of the sling and I started to kind of do what I could do from like a teammate standpoint, I really started like kind of falling in love with being a part of like this program and baseball in general. And then from there, it was just honestly, I was just pretty selfish with my work. Like I knew if I had any shot of ever playing again, I needed to kind of like do it myself. And that off season was probably the hardest I've ever worked on trying to get healthy and also just trying to get back to like my ability, and that definitely helped me kind of set up for this next season.
Definitely. And you say taking a second to be a teammate. How do you feel like that in a weird twisted way that it helped you like grow into like that upperclassman like leadership role within Vandy baseball? Yeah,
100%. We have so many guys, like I said, we get so close as a team. Man, these guys are like literally my brothers. And going through that process and understanding that, okay, I'm not going to get my opportunity to play right now, but I can still contribute and be a valuable asset to the team. Definitely helped me, again, just be around the team and if I wasn't helping on the field, I knew I was able to help in other ways. And, I had experience on the field where I could probably go talk to guys who hadn't had experience yet, or guys who had to be patient or were just kind of getting their chance. And I knew that's kind of where I needed to put my energy towards, and that definitely helped me ultimately get back on the field.
Definitely. Yeah. And so talking about getting back on the field, you started pinch hitting this past season. Mid to late season, is that, you feel like, accurate?
I was getting pinch hits like second week of the season, but it was mostly like end of the game stuff.
Yeah,
I was just trying to get
I'm thinking higher leverage.
Into it. Yeah. But yeah, I wasn't cleared to throw until.
Oh really?
Yeah, I wasn't cleared to throw in a game at least. I was doing rehab stuff until like May-ish.
Oh wow.
And
because that's when you started getting put in a bit more.
Yeah.
I remember. I think the first time that like I was, you kind of like you looked like what I remembered from like my freshman year was in the game versus I think Florida when you got pinch hit. Because I think you got pinch, you got like maybe like a double, and we were getting blown out because that was it was a bad Florida series. And I was in Florida at the time. It was terrible. But I really feel like the season we were at a terrible time in the season, at least from a fan's perspective. It had been like it felt like all our momentum had grinded to a halt. That was when Hunter Hohen and Carter got hurt. And so it was like, well, that's two of our top 3 pitchers. Our offense had been struggling a little bit. And we get to the Arkansas series. And up to that, like we had won like our first 5 SEC series or something like that. So we still had like some cushion, but we had to start winning.
Yeah, for sure.
Game 1, we get kind of blown out, if I remember correctly. But game 2 is where, in my opinion, our season changed, and I still think was a successful season despite what happened in the postseason. But so game 2, we're down, I think 8-2.
Yes, 8-2.
Going into the 8th inning. And so will you take us through what you saw of that 8th inning?
Yeah, I mean it was more. I mean we were frustrated as a team, especially because of how hot we started the season, and we understood how these past like it was 3 or 4 series prior to that Arkansas series had gone. It was almost we just kind of fell away from our identity as a team, and losing that Friday night game was almost like, okay, like if we had swept that, we won the SEC.
Yeah.
And we lost that game, so we had no chance of winning the SEC. And it was almost like we talked about burning the boats as like one of the things that was kind of like a motivator. And we went into that game with the full intention where it was like, literally screw it. Like we have nothing to lose. Like we already have a good chance. Like we're going to make the postseason. We're already in the SEC tournament. Like we can just play as hard as we possibly can, and then straight out the gate we were getting killed. Yeah. So it was like everything that we had just said almost, it didn't really go to plan.
Inning 1, a horrible home run call, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, you can see, I don't know, Willem, I don't know if you watched this game, but inning 1, batter 2, Futrell lets a long foul ball. You can see the ball cross the foul pole. Like if you can see the ball, it's not behind the foul pole. Right. And they reviewed it and still called it a home run. Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah. Sorry. Continue. I didn't mean to take that away.
Yeah. So that was like right out the gate. Yeah. I'm like, the wind is taken out of us again. But I think throughout the whole game, it didn't feel like we were like down as much as we were.
Runs.
It was truly like we're 2 hits away from being back into it. And that was such a positive thing for us because that was our identity as a team early on in the season, where it's like no matter what had happened in the game, whether it was negative or positive, like we still had next inning to keep going. Yeah. And I mean, once that 8th inning rolled around, it was just good at bat after good at bat after good at bat. And then, one thing led after another, I got a good pitch.
And there it is. Get a lot of those good pitches.
That was obviously my favorite moment of the inning, but my second favorite moment of that inning was TJ McKenzie's bunt.
Has he ever bunted before?
Because for those of you who don't remember that bunt, it looked like obviously he's a power hitter. He's there to hit nukes.
He's not there to
bunt. He bunts in a way that bunts up, and it was like an infield fly ball that went maybe 15 feet in the air, and it somehow landed exactly where it needed to. And you see RJ Austin like flying once he realizes the ball hits the ground.
Yeah, that was insane.
Oh my gosh, it was such like I don't want to call it like a funny play, but it was.
It was just odd.
It was
just one of those. I mean, TJ's one of my best friends. I was we'll talk. That was planned.
Yeah, that was just how we drew it up.
You think about a kid. He's one of the most well-rounded baseball players that I've played with since I've been here. He really can do it all, and he's such a good bunter.
Really? I've never seen him bunt. No disrespect.
He's always been a really, really good bunter. He's fast.
He's obviously
fast, but he can do it all. And when that happened, it was almost like, how did that just happen? The way that I've seen this guy execute this play a million times, and
because it was supposed to be a sacrifice.
It turned into a hit. So
He's that good. He's just that good.
He's just that good.
Just
He's
like
also huge.
kind of delve a little bit more into like the parts of that inning is then Enrique gets up, and Enrique, they have probably one of the most impressive plays that I'd seen from a shortstop second base combo.
Yeah.
Where not almost as good, not really. I think the best play I've ever seen from a shortstop second base combo was in those UT games where it was Vastine and the flip. That was so sick. First of all, but where they like both ran and like collided and still caught the ball.
That was tough.
That was. I mean, I can only imagine how hard of a play that must be.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
And because I thought that was gonna bust the game open a little bit, and I was like, after all this, now we have. One out, we got to run in, but guys at the corners, double play gets that inning over.
Yeah.
And then, just walk after hit after, I think RJ Shrek got hit by pitch.
Yep.
And then we're still down 8-7, and then you walk up with people on first and second, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And he gets his pitch. I'm going to try to cut that in here as well. All right, new pitcher in. First pitch to Troy LaNeve. And oh my God, he smokes an absolute rocket still to left center like the other clip that I clipped in. It's over the tense. They are now up 10-8. It has been an 8-run comeback, all spearheaded by this 3-run shot. He's literally him, like still to this day. Stomp. Yes, sir. Let's get it. Because why not? And it really felt like at that point our season changed.
Yeah, I mean, it was just it was like all the emotions of the last 3 weekends had like come out in that moment where
it was first pitch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was first pitch.
Okay.
They switched pitchers and they brought in a lefty.
He watched him like twice.
Yeah, and the kid that they took out was like I would say that maybe their go-to guy to the bullpen.
It was, yeah.
So they brought in left-handed pitcher, and
they were like, surely this lefty-lefty matchup.
Yeah, so many times in my career, it's like usually that's flip it, go to a righty there, but
you're like, he's got it.
Stuck to it.
Took it to right center.
Yeah,
no, left center.
Yeah. Up into the tent.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was the best call I've ever seen.
That was a good one.
But so at that point, people are going nuts. That's our last series of the season.
Yep.
We get, then we have SEC tournament next.
Yeah.
And so take us through that week in the SEC tournament, if you would.
Yeah. So the SEC tournament is, I don't think there's any other tournament run like the SEC baseball tournament, just because usually 8 of the 12 teams that are in that tournament already have a spot in the postseason.
Yeah.
So not a lot of those teams are going there to win it. They're just kind of get some extra work or, rest the guys that they need to rest to get ready for the postseason. But one thing that I love about our program is we approach that like we're going to win that every year. Even if, we're going to go all in. We're going to win that thing if we can. And yeah, it's an awesome tournament. We get there in game 1 and we play Auburn. That was a team we hadn't played yet that year, which is another thing I love about the tournament is that you are playing teams you haven't played all year. And played a good Auburn team. We were able to come out up front, and then played Florida
for the fourth time.
Lose to Florida, and then I want to say then we played Alabama. We played really well, but everything was coming together for us at the right time, and you could kind of feel it where we were starting to get our identity, kind of like get our swagger back in a way. Like dudes were playing like they had played all season, and it was like finally like things are clicking, and
you were like an absolute extra base hit machine that week.
Yeah, everybody was seeing the ball well. Yeah. everybody was having good at bats, and it was just fun. It was like as a senior, kind of getting to appreciate those like big moments, and it just felt like every single inning something was happening for us, something was kicking. And everybody was contributing. It was awesome. You know what?
I took offense to at one point you launched a 3-run homer into the woods.
Yes.
And yes. I'm not going to let you not get your accolades here, but they were like, those are Blake Burke's woods. And don't get me wrong, Blake Burke is a great player, but he got out first day of the tournament, and you were there pumping home runs in there all week. So I don't want to hear about his woods real quick. Anyway, so then we play Florida again.
that's why I love the SEC tournament, because that was the 5th time we played them. We'd already lost 4 times, but the only thing I remember is eliminating them. So that's the good thing about the SEC.
It's not about what you've done for me in the past.
Yeah, they're a good team, and all their players are very respectable players. But of course. That definitely felt good.
Our starting pitcher that game was I don't remember his name.
J.D.
Thompson, freshman, lefty.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, going to that game, I was like, I don't think he had started all year.
That was the first start of the year. Yeah.
And that was a phenomenal start from J.D. Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
And, I feel like I'm of the belief that going into this next year, we have the best top-down pitching staff in the nation. And that might be a bold claim. I know there's, like, the Wake Forests of the world. But, like, I thought that I had seen what I consider to be the best Vanderbilt pitching staff my freshman year, with Kumar and Jack, along with like Maldo and Murphy and McIlvain.
Yeah.
I really believe that this could be a better pitching staff. And I'm not asking you to comment on that, because I know that all those people, and that might be a different thing. But I feel like, we have, in my opinion, we have like 6 guys who could start and give 6 innings in an SEC game. We have high leverage relievers that can absolutely get us through whatever we need, and I'm super excited to see that pitching staff all function this year, as well with what I believe to be a much developed offense after building on kind of like last year's successes.
Have you ever pitched?
I pitched a little bit in high school.
Were you good?
I've hit 90 once.
But so if we needed a position player to throw,
I'm not. Pre-surgery, throw me out there. I'm not going.
Who would you trust most as a position player to throw? Because I know, I'm not trying to bias your opinion. I know R.J. Austin was a pitcher.
R.J. Austin was a good pitcher.
R.J. was good.
I'd say Vastine could probably pop it up to 95.
Really?
Jeez.
He's got one of the best arms I've ever seen.
He can.
I mean, he's a.
And his hair got so much better.
His hair got better. Yeah.
Our freshman year, and
full player.
He was like, he got a buzz, I think, my freshman year, and then he came back with much better hair the next year.
Yeah.
I was super excited to see the growth.
This is what we see.
It's a first year, second year program.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is it. Most improved.
But so you guys won the SEC tournament. You're one of 2 teams in the SEC that hoisted a trophy that year.
Yes.
Because LSU won, I believe, which is, and so obviously we wanted to go farther in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that stings in ways. But can you look back and be like, that was still a good season for all of this that we did?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I think from in the moment, the SEC tournament's a kind of like an awkward thing to celebrate, just because you understand, like, you have more work that needs to be
job
done.
Ain't finished, as Kobe once said.
Job's not done yet.
Job's not done.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are that's something I'm gonna remember the rest of my life. I'm gonna get a ring for that.
Yeah.
So I mean, looking back on it, being able to reflect and understand that, I think the class that did it as a senior class and all together, like, that was a class that was the COVID year, that was the freshman class, and guys had gone through so much injury-wise and come back from so much. And I think when you look at it and you understand how successful that season started, and then you get to look at it and see, like, well, we got to hold a trophy up.
Yeah.
And that rarely rarely is done. So I think absolutely. I mean, that's something that I think we're going to be able to look back on.
And obviously we're looking to build on that this year. But I think that a lot of people were very, some people were making bold claims about it being like, oh, it's a waste of, but I think that those people are rather short-sighted. And I think it was a really good year.
Yeah,
I think that it was one of the craziest, like, storybook kind of years that I feel like I've been able to watch as a sports fan my whole life.
Yeah, especially putting into the perspective of, like, y'all's class.
Yeah.
It was a really, like, interesting, nice ending to, like, okay, those are good 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so we're going to move to the kind of closing sections of the podcast. I know we've kept you here a long time, but the best part, some might say the best part, is when we're going to talk about superlatives of the team. You ever watch those old, like, Minnesota Vikings videos where they'll go in and be like, who's the best dancer on the team, and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we obviously have those kind of questions for you.
That's good.
And so I'll start with that one. Like, who do you think is the best dancer on the team?
I got to go R.J. Austin. Hunter Owen left. Hunter Owen was
Hunter
the best
Owen?
dancer on the team. Yeah, he's hilarious.
Really?
Exactly, I know.
No disrespect to Hunter Owen. I would expect him being so big to
he
have
can
a
move,
problem.
man. He can move. He can move.
Dang.
I know. But
It's one of the biggest guys
Austin-
I've ever seen in person.
Yeah, he's a freak.
Oh my
freak.
god!
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you ever seen Hunter Owen in person, Willem?
He's the one that has a class with Brooke, right?
Yes.
I see him walk out of class, and I'm like,
He's an animal.
Yeah, like
huh? That dude's large.
only on this podcast do I meet people that I'm like,
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
yeah,
Like,
like,
what?
but
awesome.
anyway, so RJ,
RJ Austin can move it.
That's
yeah,
big.
for sure.
best dressed.
Best dressed. Oh, that's a good.
Well, you're gonna have to help me with some of these. I know you do better at superlatives than I
right.
do.
I guess I'll go. There's a freshman, RJ Hamilton. He's always fitted up.
I've heard,
Yeah,
There you go.
he's a big kid. Yeah, I haven't seen his outfits enough yet, but I would say
Yeah.
probably taking the cake so far.
What's up with the RJs in this
Yeah,
program?
RJ,
Like,
right?
what?
There's a lot of RJs.
Yeah, right.
Three in the past
2
year.
years,
Like, what?
yeah.
That's
That's
crazy.
insane. Who is the funniest on the team?
Other than yourself.
Right. Kyle Hewitt, he's the man. Or Chris Maldo. Chris Maldonado is hilarious too. Those two kids. I almost don't even want to put that on the podcast. I don't want them to see that. But yeah, good dudes.
We'll put a poll up. We'll be like, who's
Put a
funnier?
poll up, yeah.
We can invite him and be like, all right, tell a joke.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Put 'em on
Right
one
now.
spot.
One joke.
Yeah, one line.
Make me laugh, or you ain't funny.
Other than here, what is your favorite place that you've ever played? Other than here in Omaha, what is your favorite place you've ever played? Like another SEC or another school?
Arkansas is 1-1 for sure. I mean that's the best environment that I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
Besides Omaha.
Yeah.
I mean their fans as a whole. I mean that's special. I mean it's fun playing there, and then Ole Miss is a close second.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, close second.
So then, what is your least favorite place to play?
I think you probably could guess. Yeah. You probably could. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I just won't say it.
I'll say it. What do you feel like? Okay, so as a person that since the start of this podcast, we've made it clear like hitting is something you enjoy
Right.
far more than
Absolutely.
anything else, which I feel like is so fair.
Fair. Yeah.
Going to Lindsey Nelson Stadium and seeing the 210-foot right field wall, how is that like a I'm about to go off today, or is it like a come on
A little bit of both. I think it's definitely tests your focus, because once we get into a training session.
Okay, hey guys. We hope you're enjoying the episode so far. If not, watch it again because you're watching it wrong. It's a great episode. Unfortunately, we lost the last 6 minutes or so of the podcast. We don't know how this happens, but it happens. Chris is distraught, but we make do. I think Troy just went on to talk about how the shorter walls make you you can focus on whatever you want to try and practice. Yeah, and then he talked about how he fasts.
So heartbroken.
He fasts before the games, plays on an empty stomach.
Yeah. Signed the jersey.
He signed the jersey. Yeah, that was about it. So we didn't lose anything major, and I hope you enjoyed this retelling because I gotta keep an eye on him for the rest of the day because this isn't good. You hate to see it, but these things happen. And if you subscribe, we can figure out this issue if we have enough subscribers.
Guys, I'm so distraught, and it would just make my day if you would subscribe to the podcast.
He's just a boy.
I just need it, man. It'll be here.
He's just a boy.
All right, guys. Well,
It's been good.
we'll see you all next week.